What's going on, guys? It's your boy Bo here, back with another video today. This is going to be a new series that I'm starting on my channel, Quidditch 101, where I show you how to play the wonderful game of Quidditch. I do study Quidditch outside of the Wizarding World and Harry Potter. I actually do follow Quidditch out in the world. So there's going to be a lot of similarities and differences between real life and how it's probably going to be played on Quidditch Champions, the new upcoming Quidditch game. So I'll try to do a little comparison based on real life Quidditch, Wizarding World Quidditch, and then maybe kind of balance it out to see what we may get in Quidditch Champions. Like I said, take everything with a grain of salt. This is not set in stone because, one, the game hasn't even came out yet. What do I know, right? I don't know what's the scoring system's going to be like. I mean, even though I have a good idea, you don't know until you actually see it. So let's go ahead and dive into this. Quidditch, the field is called a Quidditch pitch. That's what you're looking at here based on my little diagram, my beautiful little diagram that I drew up for you guys. So the way the field is broke down is you have your left and your right, obviously. You have 3 rings on one side and you have 3 rings on the other side. I labeled them as red and blue so we can keep up with whose rings are what, right? So the red team has 3 rings, the blue team has 3 rings, and your goal is to get the quaffle ball, which there's only one quaffle. There's one quaffle on the entire field, and your goal is to get this through the opposing team's rings. So the red team has to try and score in the blue rings, and the blue team has to score in the red rings. Pretty straightforward. It's almost like basketball, give or take. So the quaffle ball is only worth 10 points. You're only going to get 10 points for throwing the ball through the hoop. And the only people that are allowed to touch the quaffle ball are what we call chasers. There are 3 chasers per each team. You have 3 chasers on the red team, 3 chasers on the blue team. They are the only people that are allowed to touch this quaffle ball and try attempt to score. There is one other ball, or it's not even a ball, one other aspect to the game that will give you points, and that's by catching the golden snitch. The snitch in the movies is worth 150 points, but I don't think that when Quidditch Champion releases, I don't think they're going to make it 150 points. Real life, it's only worth 30 points. So I'm thinking in the game, we're going to say it'll be about 30 points. So those are your 2 scoring options as far as getting points on the board for your team. Obviously, the only people that are allowed to touch the snitch are your seekers. There's 1 seeker per each team, and they only come out close to the end of the game. There's a lot of different aspects that go into when your seekers come out. So we're not going to really dive into that. We'll dive into that in later episodes whenever we start. I'll draw up some seeker routes and stuff like that for strategies and stuff. So we'll get into that later. So we'll just need to know that there's 1 seeker per each team that is allowed to catch the golden snitch. From there, your chasers need a little bit of protection. So what we do to protect our chasers is there's a ball called a bludger. You have not only 1, but you have 3 bludgers on the field at any given time that can be used by the beaters. So there are 2 beaters per each team. You have 2 beaters on the red team, 2 beaters on the blue team. These are the only people that are allowed to touch the bludgers on the field. So you can use these bludgers to throw at the chasers. You can use them to throw at other beaters. Pretty much you're using these balls as a defensive mechanism to get your chasers down the field and score. From there, you have your keepers. So these are going to be your ringmasters. They're going to keep the quaffle from going through these rings. So they're going to be your goalie, if you would like to think of it like FIFA or football or soccer, whatever you classify that as. These are your goalies. They're going to keep the ball from going through these rings. Now, I will say, I don't know how it's going to work in game, but at any given point, there's only 1 person allowed in this back area, in the scoring area at a time. I don't know if it's going to work like that in Quidditch Champions, but typically you don't want any of your players in the back area. Actually, you can't have. If you're going to score, you can't have anybody else in the back area as far as real life goes. But since you're going to be on flying on brooms and all this other stuff, I think there's going to be some leniency there. Um, but either way, typically you don't want anybody in your back area, back zone back here. So if we really want to take this a step farther and look at the field and players as a unity, if you were trying to really win the game and you want certain zones picked out that you really want to try to get control of, the pitch is broken down into 4 different zones. You have R1, which is the left side of the red rings. You have R2, which is broken down into, it's the right side of the right rings. And then, of course, on the other side, you probably already guessed it, you have B1, which is broken down the left side of the blue rings. And you have B2, which is broken down on the right side of the blue rings. Now, I don't really see anybody using this strategy up until higher tiers, higher ranks. A lot of people are just going to be flying around, throwing the quaffle ball back and forth, just playing the game essentially. But once you get to a higher tier, I feel like you're going to want to utilize these zones and really kind of help your team understand where not only the quaffle ball is at any given time, but where the bludgers are also going to be at. So you would want to let your team know, like, hey, the quaffle ball is back in R2. So if the player's up here in B2, they know to stay away from, or they're going to want, attack the R2 position. And same with the bludgers. You want your team to know where the bludgers are at any given time, so that way they can stay away from those bludgers. So you might want to make some strategies over here on the left side if the bludgers are up here closer to the top, and vice versa. So I mean, this is just a little overview of the basics of Quidditch as far as the field is broken down. So you have your 3 chasers, your 2 beaters, your seeker, and your keeper. Quaffle ball is worth 10 points. You have 3 bludgers on the field, and you have a snitch that will probably be worth somewhere around 30 points, I would imagine. So I really hope I didn't overcomplicate this thing for you guys, since it's just the first episode. The next episodes following this will be more playmakers, strats that you can use on offense and defense. And I'll be making these videos probably every 2 to 3 days up until the release of Quidditch Champions. So that way you're ready to hit the ground running on day 1 when it's ready to go. So guys, if you really enjoyed this video, be sure you give it a like, because like I said, this is completely new on my channel. This is not something I've done before, but I do want to try to help the community and try to let them pick my brain as far as the way Quidditch works. And I hope not only that I can make it to the Pro League, but you can make it to the Pro League as well using these strats. So anyways guys, this has been your boy Bo, and I'll see you on the Quidditch pitch.